Masked Hero.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Wonder Man release day. Well, a little bit late, but we're going to still celebrate it today. Yeah, so we are going to be opening up the Wonder Man Hero Pack today, and I'm excited. This is a hero that I had wanted in the game. I mentioned it back at the end of 2024 as one of my top 5 heroes that should come to the game. So let's not skip any beats. I'm excited for this. Let's get into Wonder Man. All right, we have gotten everything separated. We just got the hero kit here, so let's get into it. And let's talk about Wonder Man, aka Simon Williams. Simon Williams is a 3 recovery alter ego with the civilian trait and the ionic energy beam ability. You may include events with a printed energy resource icon from any aspect in your deck, which is a really cool kind of niche thing. I will admit that I've talked to some people who are like, well, you'd think some things would have an energy and they don't, and this, that, the other thing. And I agree. This is a weird thing to start thinking about. Obviously, I would imagine that to some degree, Fantasy Flight has put some thought into what kind of icons are on the bottom of cards, for balancing, especially during Sinister Motives, with requirements mattering. But at the same time, yes, this does mean that the possibilities for Simon Williams are almost unending, and that's kind of exciting. He's a setup ability where you put the ionic, too many cards, where you put ionic physiology into play, which we will definitely talk about. Obviously, you can see it right there. He has 6 hand size and 12 hit points. I would say the only thing that kind of bums me out about Simon Williams, I think I might have said this in a past video, is that he basically does nothing on his alter ego side, conceivably. So it's all just about his hero side. His hero side is a 2 scheme, 1 attack, 2 defense hero with the Aerial and Avenger trait. Cool, have Aerial right off the bat. And power recycling. Wonder Man gets +1 attack for each card tucked under Kree Physiology. Force response: after Wonder Man makes a basic attack, discard each card tucked under Ionic Physiology. Did I say Kree Physiology before? I might have. My bad. 5 hand size, 12 hit points. And obviously you've been reading Ionic Physiology. I necessarily haven't. But what is this? Basically, this design, everything is going to be around. So we have a null cost upgrade that is a superpower trait. It is permanent and max 3 cards tucked under here. Response: after you play an event with a printed energy resource, tuck that event from your discard pile under this card. Heal 1 damage from your identity. Well, you know what? Passive healing sounds great. Let me just kind of sit here. Okay, so that's, yep. All right, so then, yeah, so we can build up his attack to 4. So now we've got 2 heroes back to back, or came out on the same day, that have pretty reasonably high attack. Now you do need to be able to play these events, so that is definitely something to keep in mind. But I do think that this is going to be very interesting to just balance out playing all your events, making a basic attack, basically not letting it get too overloaded, healing back damage. That's actually probably really good, because being able to gain back 2 or 3 damage in a turn. Actually, I think I'm even going to go with how I looked at Hercules yesterday. I'm going to assume that I'm healing back 1 or 2 damage. Let's just assess every card as if we're not going to get the maximum 3 every time. If I'm healing back 2 damage every turn, that isn't entirely a villain attack, but it's pretty close. I would say that over time, hopefully you can stay in the 50-60% of your health kind of range. Exist there. I remember when this got previewed, and I was kind of excited. Looking at it now, I've definitely learned a little bit more and find passive healing to be a lot of fun. But let's move on to the rest of the cards. This is not as complex as Hercules. Thank you for that. And we have 3 copies of Active Altruism. 0 cost event. Love to see 0 cost when we care about events. Thwarting trait. Hero action thwart. Remove 1 threat from a scheme. Remove 2 additional threat from this scheme for each energy resource you overpaid for this card, to a maximum of energy. So you can conceivably take off 1 scheme, heal a thing back, get a +1 attack, and that just be it. You just discard the card essentially to remove 1 threat. Or you could overpay, basically paying, I guess, your copy of energy to remove 5 threat. That seems pretty fun. I do like this. I remember this was kind of part of his shtick. But either way, just being able to overpay for things is something I don't think we've really seen since Ant-Man and the Wasp, because they had the allies that that paid off that. But excited to see this here. We'll see how this goes. I think that this is an okay card. I think you're going to want to have a lot of energy resources in your deck anyway, so this doesn't seem too hard to kind of hit that. Do I need to remove 1, 3, 5 threat? And let's just go from there. And then, like I said, this all builds upon what we're trying to do with Simon. And yeah, hopefully this is a good staple card that you want to use all the time. Because even if you're just removing 1 threat, like how often do you kind of just, you're at the end of the round, you're playing multiplayer, and there's not a lot of threat on a scheme, and you just kind of need that last 1, maybe 2 off, and this can do that. This can get a side scheme cleared. This can just get the main scheme into a place that is good. 2 copies of Ionic Blast. 1 cost event, attack and superpower traded. Hero action attack, deal 3 damage to an enemy, deal 2 additional damage to that enemy for each energy resource you overpaid for this card to a maximum of energy. Okay, so for 1 you're dealing 3. I think that's okay. From there you can do 5, 7, and 9 damage. 4 for 9 I feel like is pretty good. It doesn't have overkill. That is something to keep in mind. And so at that point, the 9 damage is either going to go towards a very, very beefy minion or just finishing a stage of the villain. I'm also thinking about this from the perspective of Rogue, ironically, because it's like, well, this is an event that she can, put back into her hand with superpower adaptation, and she can reasonably get some benefit out of this. And I know that's probably the wrong place to be thinking about, especially in a pack opening, but yeah, just overall, like, whenever I see something that's not explicitly tied to what you're doing, I always think, what could Rogue do with this? And actually, I think Rogue would have a good time with this card. It wouldn't probably get all the maximum potential out of it, but I think you'd see a lot of good coming from this. That could be very helpful, especially because if you have like wilds, those count as energies as well. And yeah, overall, I don't have a lot to say about this card. I think overkill is kind of what breaks it. If it had overkill, obviously it'd be really, really good. But at this stage, it's just kind of a selective, like, do you need 3, 5, 7, or 9 damage? And yeah, I don't have much more to say. 3 copies of Starstruck, like the card name. Event, 1 cost event, attack superpower, deal damage to an enemy equal to your attack. If you overpaid for this card with an energy resource, stun that enemy. Okay, so if you paid 2, okay, so for 1, it's whatever you built up to. If you're trying to, min-max this, you've got 2 cards tucked under there, so that means he has 3 attacks. So essentially this is a 1 for 3, or you're burning this, you're not getting the full use out of this, and this is a 1 for 4. This being the 4th card that would have been tucked under there and not getting the full use out of it, 1 for 4 is pretty good. 1 for 3 is also pretty good. And then just the ability to stun an enemy is also pretty cool. Like, it's not built in. It does need to take a little bit of work, but it's an ask that I think is not going to be too big. And it's kind of also coming into perspective that Wonder Man is basically going to be, well, I think he's going to benefit from like a Quinn carrier. We'll see if that's in the deck. He's not going to benefit from, I don't believe he would benefit from a helicarrier. I think that would not, maybe it would, because you take like this, for example, to bring it down to 0, and then you're overpaying with just energy. Maybe that would be a valid play. Not sure, but just looking at it being like, okay, well, his economy is going to be interesting because you don't necessarily need to overpay, but you kind of want to, and kind of learning the lessons of like where do we go from there? If we're trying to overpay with things, what does that mean for our hand size? Because we're at a hand size of 5. Like, what is that going to be good? Is that going to be bad? I don't know, but we'll see. And I'll definitely be reporting back in my new player guide, probably in about a month. We got 2 copies of Energy Siphon. It is a resource card with Hero Interrupt. When you spend this card, take up to 3 damage. This generates 1 additional energy resource for each damage taken this way. Well, you know what? If you're doing self-healing, I don't know that that's too bad. Unless we see expensive stuff, I don't know how often I'm going to use this to generate 4 resources. That said, with 1 card, you could do that for the the attack, being able to overpay. Actually, I suppose that wouldn't even be true. That would help you to overpay. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting my wires crossed here. I mean, this seems like a very good and practical card. I just don't know how often I'm going to be dealing 3 damage to myself. But again, as we were just talking about his economy, I bet that's going to be pretty good. Being able to go, hey, I'm just going to take 3 damage. I'm going to generate 4 energy resources. I'm going to do this. or I need to Starstruck. I'm just going to do this. I'm going to take 1 damage. Then I'm just going to heal back to be able to stun the enemy. I think this actually could be the linchpin. This could be what really brings his kid alive, in my reaction here. But interesting. You know what? I know this came up in a Winning Hand episode, and I don't remember what they were necessarily talking about, but basically talking about how identity-specific resource cards are very interesting, and I have to agree. I think that when you have a chance to have a hero that can have a very unique resource that's just tied to them, all the better. Love it. Like Jackpot with Domino. I guess is the Pim Particles, and the card, I don't remember what it's called, but for Rocket, where it brings back a tech and puts it on top of your deck. Like, that's just a really cool design space, and I'm always happy to see that when it really feels like, oh yeah, this feels like it's what is helping to do what you're trying to do. And it's a resource card, but it's also doing this side thing. It's improving what your hero is able to do. Got 1 copy. Okay, everything else is 1 copy. Okay, so we got 1 copy of Wonder Fans. 1 cost support, civilian traded, alter ego action, exhaust Wonder Fans, choose, tuck 1 event with a printed energy resource from your discard pile under Ionic Physiology, or draw a card. Okay, so this feels an awful lot like the Professor from Cable's kit. This also reminds me of Amadeus Cho, but he's on the mind because I just looked at him yesterday. He can just exhaust to draw you a card. Yeah, I think will also be really good because I do think that you're going to be fighting to keep cards under your Ionic Physiology. Okay, so he's got 2 thwart. So I feel like he feels like a pretty balanced hero, and those moments when you find yourself with just 1 attack, you're going to want to be able to do something about that. And this seems like a reasonable thing. Do you want to draw a card? Do you want to add something to the Ionic Physiology? What's going to be more valuable to you? That extra card would enable you to play this event. Is that going to be important? All these things you get to choose from. And yeah, additionally, I just think it's a cool alter ego action card. Then we got Jet Belt, a item tech card. That costs 2 cost upgrade. Hero response: exhaust Jet Belt, generate a energy resource for an event. Hero resource, exhaust Jet Belt, and discard a card tucked under Ionic Physiology. Generate an energy resource. Okay, so you can drop one of the cards that's tucked so that you can just make an energy resource for anything. I like that. Okay, you know what? I like this push and pull. There's a cost to this. There is, a very straightforward way of doing things. I like cards with push and pull. I like cards that make you make a choice, and this feels like a card that is pretty generically good and just has a choice built into it. Either you're using this for events like you would with Bucky's Arm, or you're using this for anything like you would, God of Thunder, and with a little bit of a caveat. And I guess that's additionally something to keep in mind is if you use this up, you might not have a card underneath Ionic Physiology anymore, but you did have the energy resource. So what's going to be most important? And I think in a moment-to-moment situation, in multiplayer and solo play, this reads like a card that's going to give you choices, and when you make the right choices over and over again, you will win the game. Got Mr. Hollywood. I'm pretty sure I used this. I started a custom hero. I feel like this was a card. I don't remember. This definitely wasn't the hero art. I feel like, I don't know. I know this was also used in my video, so this art just stands out to me. I have read this comic quite a few times. 1 cost upgrade, title, resource, generate a energy resource to overpay for a card, limit once per card. Once per card? Oh gosh, okay, cool. Oh, okay. I will also pull the mask back a little bit here. I was very excited when this hero was announced. I did not put a lot of attention into everything going on when they were doing previews because I'm just not good at assessing cards until I really can sit down and look at them. Even when I'm, playing games, like if I was playing Magic the Gathering in person versus on Magic Arena, I just forget things. But when I'm looking at it in person, I can take it in so much more. I don't know that I processed that this is once per card, not once per turn. Once per card, you can generate an energy resource to help. That is so fun. I don't know that this is a good card. It might be a fantastic card. I don't want to be too hyperbolic, but this feels like a really fun card to play. So yeah, I'm excited. Wow. Oh, and I guess additionally, Like, okay, so I was referring to Ant-Man and Wasp earlier. So if you're in aggression, you can play Wasp. If you're in leadership, you can play Ant-Man. This isn't overpay for an event. This is just overpay for a card. So any card that rewards you for overpaying for it will help, including those two allies. That's a cool little niche. Yeah, I'm excited. Okay, cool. All right, then we got What Are You? So it's a 2-cost upgrade, superpower traded with the Force Interrupt. When Wonder Man would be defeated, instead set his hit point dial to 4 and change him to alter ego form. You may tuck events with a printed energy resource from your discard pile under Ionic Physiology until there are 3 cards there. Remove this card from the game. Okay, so this is just like Drax has a card like this, Wolverine has a card like this, Daredevil might have a card like this. I doubt that, but we'll see. Deadpool is this, essentially. Okay, so one thing that I'm looking into this as I'm kind of reading it is it enables you to basically refill your Ionic Physiology. So it's not going to heal the damage, which is fine. Not just setting yourself back to 7. Okay, but the fact that they put that in there means that reads like it's something that's important. Is okay, so you've fallen back, you're in alter ego form, you need to tuck a bunch of cards under your physiology to kind of give you that second wind. That I don't want to say it's too good. That just feels like a hat on a hat. That feels like, what was that there for? Why did they put that in there? And I don't necessarily know how I want to read that. It feels like a card where it's like, yeah, we're gonna just give you this kind of boost. Take it or leave it. I mean, I'm gonna definitely take it. It's just I wonder what led to that decision. Does it be like, and you can also refill your Ionic Physiology. All right, last card in his kit, we've got Signature Sunglasses, a 1-cost upgrade, item traded with the response of after you change form, choose to either tuck an event or resource card with a printed energy resource from your discard pile under Ionic Physiology, or you can add a card tucked under the Physiology to your hand. And this is alter ego or into hero form. And then you also get to take a resource card. So if you're a resource card with a printed energy resource on it, this is one way to kind of get that without having to do a bunch of events. Again, how badly do you need to tuck cards? Is it harder than I think it's going to be? Because they're giving you a lot of outs. I'm not sure. I mean, just overall, either growing your attack or getting an additional card when you change forms in the moment feels like that's going to be a tactical thing. I think just being able to say, hey, here's how I'm going to sequence my turn, and this is how I'm going to get this card back into my hand, and I can do this, this, and this. I guess this is also a way that over the course of a little bit you can transfer a resource card to your hand. I mean, you can also rebuy an event, but yeah, sounds fun, looks good. Makes me wonder if tucking cards is going to be harder than I think. But that is his kit. Let's get into the aspect cards. So right now we got Firebird, who I'm pretty sure we've seen before. In previews, 2-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 2 hit points, aerial and Avenger trait. If you overpaid for Firebird, put 1 rebirth counter on her. Interrupt, when the Firebird would be defeated by consequential damage, remove 1 rebirth counter from her, heal all damage from her instead. Okay, so her attack does have 2 consequential damage on it, so you could either thwart for a total of 4 or attack for 2 if you overpay, which Mr. Hollywood allows you to overpay just with that. And it doesn't even matter what kind of thing you're doing, and that's good, because when you're going outside of Wonder Man, you want this to still be a good card. By consequential damage. Okay, so this reads more like a modal event over 2 turns or 1 turn. Actually, well, okay, sorry. A modal event over a course of 2, 3, 4 turns, and not really an ally, because I don't really see myself defending, because I want to be able to use that rebirth counter. Although, I suppose you use the rebirth counter to do the thing, and then when she's just a normal ally, then you can block with her. But nothing bad to say about her. Just wondering how strategic I can be with this, because I'm not that strategic, but I definitely I dream of one day being strategic. And we got Hawkeye, in his classic armor, and from Avengers 500. So we got a 3-cost ally with 1 thwart, 1 attack, 3 hit points, Avenger and Shield traded, so you can definitely go get him with that side scheme from the Hercules pack. Hawkeye enters play with 4 arrow counters on him. Response: after an ally makes a basic thwart, remove 1 arrow counter from Hawkeye, deal 2 damage to a minion. That's a different spin on things. And it's not. It also means that you can use the arrow counters. You could use more than 1 arrow counter in a turn because you can have more than 1 ally, instead of his leadership version that is really dependent on him just staying in play. You could just burn through all of them, all the counters in like 1 turn if you just had a conveyor belt of allies. I think I'm going to get use out of him. I'm just not sure necessarily where. I think Scarlet Witch would like this, and I think a Justice Thor deck would like this. And I mean, frankly, this just seems like we got enough allies here. I think this is going to be a fun time anyway. But yeah, this is an interesting remix of the leadership version that I like it. Got Scarlet Witch, 2-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 hit points. Okay, what was her thing going to be? Force response: after you play Scarlet Witch, discard the top card in the counter deck. If it's a treachery resolve, it's when revealed ability. Okay. Wow. Okay. Let me think this through, because yes, you might get a treachery if you're playing and you know what the top card of the deck is. Like you're playing with Falcon. Falcon's somewhere on the team, or you just play as in Falcon. You can know, okay, I can play this without even needing to worry. I like the risk reward for 2 and 2 stats, 1 consequential damage on both of those. Yeah, this is going to be an acquired taste, but I think this is a card that I'm going to enjoy. Then we got Sentry, 3-cost ally, 2 thwart, 3 attack, 5 hit points, Avenger and aerial traits. Force response: after Sentry enters play, search the encounter deck for a side scheme and reveal it. Shuffle. If no side scheme was revealed this way, place 6 threat on the main scheme. Okay, so I do remember this. I do remember thinking this is a very interesting trade-off. Again, like one way or another, this is only from the encounter deck, so you need to do this at the right time. That is a nice payoff. Although on the flip side, if you can't do that, you can just put 6 threat on the main scheme. That's very costly, and in some cases, in solo, that could be an entire phase of the main scheme. But he's very strong. He doesn't remove the threat he adds very fast, because he only has 2 thwart and he's adding 6 threat. But yeah, again, like this deck is definitely coming to me with a lot of choices. Make the right choice and you will win the game. And Scarlet Witch, Sentry, Hawkeye not really, but Firebird definitely point to this idea of like just, you're gotta get good, make the best decisions you can. Battlefield Benevolence, note that there's a physical resource on this, so this does not count towards what we're trying to do. But 3 copies, Justice Event, Tactic traded for 1, Hero action, heal 2 damage from an enemy, confuse that enemy. I don't remember that it healed 2 damage. I remember the confused part. I can definitely see in a confused lock deck this is going to be helpful. Additionally, I suppose, okay, I was going to say, you need to have an enemy in play, but there's the villain's in play. So you could heal the villain for 2, then go down to Alter Ego and blank that. I like this. I don't know that I love it for Wonder Man, but as a card that's entering the game, I think I like it. I just think that I'm going to want to put it into someone like Psylocke or Miles, and I don't necessarily feel like Wonder Man needs this. So this could be an early candidate for just something to sub out. Bombs Away, this is a reprint. We've seen this before. It is a 2-cost event. Aerial and Tactic traded. Hero action, exhaust an aerial character you control and choose a player. Deal 3 damage to the villain and each minion engaged with that player. I think we first saw this with Angel. Could be wrong. And I think that was the only time we've seen this. I think I only remember the Archangel art. Not a bad card. Definitely has its uses, and we are completely set up to be able to take advantage of this. I think just as a off aspect card for Wonder Man, it's good, and it helps you to kind of clear the board if things are getting out of hand. But again, I don't have strong feelings about it, but I have had good memories with this card in the past. Got 3 copies of Everywhere All at Once. X cost event, aerial and thwart traded. Play only if your identity has the aerial trait. Okay, so another aerial matters card. Hero action. Choose X schemes. Remove 2 threat from each scheme, from each of the chosen schemes. 3 threat instead if you overpaid for this with this card. So if you choose 1 and you paid 2, you remove 3 threat. If you chose 2 and you paid 3, you're removing 3 threat from 2 schemes, 3 threat from 3 schemes, on and on and on. This does seem a little clunky and a little bit hard to grasp, but I feel like in a multiplayer setting, this is going to help to clear player side schemes, because most of them have like 3 per player, and this, at least you're doing your part. I could see this card getting written off. I think that there's definitely a place for this card to be really good. I could see people kind of not feeling this card and just kind of like not really taking it out too often. But the aerial trait does give you some purpose. Like, you need to have aerial. If you're choosing to do aerial, if you're playing with, Spectrum, try it out. I think this feels like a 1 of or 2 of card, and not all 3. Got 3 copies of Stand Together. 0 cost event. Hero interrupt when a character other than your hero would take any amount of damage. If that character shares a trait with your hero, reduce that damage by your defense. There's a lot of 3 defense heroes, or enough in the pool that's a pretty effective card. And in Wonder Man, yes, you're reducing it by 2, but then it's immediately going under the physiology. You're healing the damage back. This seems like a really good way to get on the path to have your ally take no damage. Like, there's oh god, what is it? It's like, I think it's the Hangar Bay, where if an ally defends and doesn't take any damage, you ready them back up. This seems like a good way to kind of like put your thumb on the scale there. And I'm even thinking there's the protection. Or no, it's not protection. It's a basic Groot. Basic Groot ally that when it defends, it heals 2 damage. Like, this is a good way to basically say, hey, I've got 6 hit points. I'm going to defend. I'm going to take some of that back. I'm going to use Stand Together to reduce that damage. And yeah, just kind of give him infinite life. This, I do feel like if you're going to go with it, you're going to have all 3 copies. 3 copies of Unified Strike, 0 cost event. Again, love to see it. Hero interrupt when an ally uses a basic power, exhaust your hero. Add your hero's matching power to that ally's power for this use. Add your hero's matching power to that ally's power for this use. That ally does not take consequential damage for this use. I like that. Getting around the consequential damage. Everything else just kind of seems to be a roundabout way to do something, but yeah, I would say if you're stunned or confused, you just send an ally to basically like use your stats for the turn, and that seems like a good way to kind of have an out when your back's against the wall. Like, yes, at some point you're going to need to clear that stun, you're going to need to clear that confuse, but this does get around it for at least a turn. I think that there's a different like moving this over to just the base Hercules deck. I was going to Hercule. The base Hercules deck, because that has a lot of 3 attack guys. I think there's going to be a use for this, and I think it's going to be one of the more notable cards from this pack. This feels like it's going to be doing a lot of good work, and I don't pay enough attention to blue, but this feels like one that would bring me back to blue and say, what can I do with leadership with Unified Strike? So we got 3 copies of Heroic Conditioning, 3 cost upgrade. Condition, play under any player's control, max 1 per player. You get +3 hit points, and your hero gets +1 thwart. I think these cards are definitely staple-ish, as staple-ish as like the original versions that just like gave you +1 attack, +1 thwart, what have you. I think these are going to be in the same vein. Like, this is about as stapley as those can be. Mixing it with endurance to give you that extra hit points, condensing it down to 1 card. I can definitely appreciate. And yeah, so there's not much more to say. Like, this is just a card that either you're going to want it or you're not going to want it. In a multiplayer, you're going to want multiple copies, maybe. If not, then just your Miser's copy. But yeah, I don't hate this card. It's just, I feel like there's a precedent that we don't necessarily. These cards are not flashy cards in in my mind. They're just kind of there. They're meat and potatoes cards helping you out. You got Swordsman, a 4-cost ally, 2 thwart, 2 attack. Avenger traded 4 hit points. Swordsman basic attacks gain piercing. He responds after a boost card is turned face up during an undefended attack. Declare Swordsman as the defender without exhausting him. And his thwart has 2 consequential damage. I don't know. This kind of reads like the Yellow Jacket card from the Civil War set, so I guess that would have been in Tigra's deck, where it's like, this is okay, but like, this doesn't even feel like a niche card. It just feels like a card where it's like, I'm going to know when I want this card. It feels like the 41st card, first thing I'm going to cut. I don't know. I don't love this. And I might be wrong in saying that. Piercing is good. Then we got the energy resource. Of course, he's going to have energy. And we've got Jarvis, a 2-cost support with the Avenger and Persona traits. I know I saw this card previewed. I don't remember what it does. After a Avengers hero changes into Alter Ego form and exhausts Jarvis, choose that identity gets +2 recovery until the end of the phase, or discard a status card from that identity. Okay, so this changes the way that I would normally think about changing Alter Ego, because I find I often change to Alter Ego. I do all my stuff, I get all my hero actions out, then I change down, but I'm already exhausted. So I really kind of like do my recovery the next turn when I have the context of what my new hand looks like. Whereas this is asking you to basically go, you're going to go down, you're going to recover. What is his recovery again? His recovery is 5. Or so his recovery will become 5 of 12. I mean, this just changes it, and probably there are players out there that go, well, I always change. When I'm going to go recover, I go to recover. I don't wait, say that till next turn. You could hit an indirect damage kind of thing. Additionally, just removing a status counter, that can be helpful, because sometimes you're just like, I don't need to thwart right now, but I would like to thwart in the future. And as long as I'm going out to Alter Ego, let's get this confuse off me. Yeah, I don't see this as being as ubiquitous as Moira McTaggart was for X-Men decks, but maybe this will be a good card for Avenger decks. Not sure. And that is his deck. So let's move into the Obligation and the Nemesis kit. I remember the Nemesis kit because it was mostly previewed by Critical Encounters, a podcast that I definitely like. So we've got Pacifism, which is definitely a thing I wanted to see because Simon is a pacifist. I kind of wanted him to be the first 0 attack hero, and that's not what we got. But Pacifism, Obligation, give to the Simon Williams player. Wonder Man cannot attack. Checks out. Alter Ego action, exhaust Simon Williams, or discard 3 cards tucked under Ionic Physiology. Discard this card. Ooh, discard. So this is going to recur. This is this is an obligation that's a workaround, and it's got. I respect that it has 2 different ways to discard it. I respect that it basically goes, hey, you can't attack, but you can do all your other stuff. You can sit in hero form and do all of any thwarting you want to do, but you just can't attack. This is a good trade-off. I like this. This is cool. Then we've got the Grim Reaper and his side scheme, brother versus brother. Okay, so yes, this is Simon Williams' brother. So Grim Reaper is a 2 scheme, 2 attack, 3 hit point minion with the Cyborg trait and Quick Strike. Force response. After Grim Reaper attacks and defeats an ally, deal that ally's controller a face down encounter card. Yikes. Alright, and then the side scheme is, because we want to keep all this stuff in context, sometimes these things link up mechanically, sometimes they don't, but often some stuff has new context. So, brother versus brother comes in with 2 per player threat. As an additional cost to attack Grim Reaper, you must discard 1 card from your hand, and it's got the Amplify icon. Okay, so he's got low hit points. And I don't know that discarding 1 card is going to be a big deal. In fact, we can do Starstruck, and it's going to cost you 2 if your stuff is high enough. Additionally, Ionic Blast for costing 2 to deal 3 damage. Yeah, okay, so his kit answers it pretty well. And yeah, I think I am worried about Grim Reaper just in the fact that I don't want to be losing allies to him, and that Quick Strike is going to possibly take out an ally. This is the right Nemesis for him. I don't necessarily know that I'm too worried. I feel like Simon's got this. Death cannot die. A treachery with 1 revealed. Grim Reaper activates against you. If Grim Reaper is not in play, find him and reveal him. So he's going to get the quick strike. And then a boost ability of if Grim Reaper is in play, he activates against you after this activation. So that can even be your friend has Grim Reaper in front of him, you get this, and he attacks you. Cool card. Cool, lot of attacks. Definitely pushes the could kill your allies kind of stuff. Yeah, I like it. And then last card is Scythe Strike. Treachery, when revealed, if Grim Reaper is in play, he activates against you. Again, otherwise take 2 indirect damage. Alright, so this is another reason why, like I said with Jarvis, sometimes you want to switch down to Alter Ego, you want to heal right away, because indirect damage could come at any moment. Yeah, I don't think his Nemesis kit is bad. I don't feel things when I look at it. I'm not worried, I'm not scared or anything. Alright, then let's move into off aspect stuff. We didn't get to talk about this with Hercules, but we do now. Okay, so we got 3 copies of Caught in the Crossfire. Aggression for 0 cost upgrade, tactic traded, attached to a non-elite enemy, 1 per minion. Attached to a non-elite minion, max 1 per minion. Interrupt when a friendly character attacks, deal 1 damage to attached minion. Okay, that's pretty cool. I like this just as a way to you focus on what you need to focus on, and it's friendly too, so multiplayer does even more. But yeah, this is just a nice way to be like, hey, this minion is gonna get taken care of. You don't even need to throw damage at him. He'll go down. Yeah, cool. Cameo, which I am excited to buy. A 0 cost support. Has a setup ability and max 1 per deck. So setup is, this is after you do your mulligans, you will search your collection for an identity-specific ally from an identity not in the game, shuffle that ally into your deck, discard 2 cards from your hand, and remove this card from the game. So basically what this is doing is it's just setting up a situation for you to have a different identity-specific ally in your deck at the cost of losing 2 cards from your opening hand. I think that's a pretty fair trade-off. You do still need to find the ally. Now, a surprise for today is I've already prepared this. I have 5 allies that I want to put into specific heroes. We'll keep this quick, but I do think that's going to be a better thing than me just talking about the hypothetical with Cameo. So with Domino, I want to get Hellcat. Why do I want to do that? Because, she's got a wild resource. Most identity-specific allies have a wild resource, but she is one that can return to my hand, so I can have her out in play, doing her stuff, return her to my hand. Maybe I put her back on top of my deck so that she's a wild resource that I can then reveal off the top. I just think there's some interaction there, and I want to see what happens, and I want to be either proven right or wrong. For Miss Marvel, in a thematic way, I want to put Captain Marvel into my deck just to have her around. She already is good enough. I think she's going to be one that is on the short list for things you'll want to cameo, because just by using her basic power, she's drawing you a card. I think that's pretty good and fun, and should be, at least, like I said, the baseline. Obviously you need to have Spider-Woman, but if you have a full collection and you don't know what else to do, Captain Marvel's not a bad one to pick. I want to put her into Miss Marvel. Additionally, in Miss Marvel, I want to put in Nebula. When she enters play, you get a attack or thwart event. She cares about that kind of stuff. Obviously, she can't go get you a defense event, but she can get you an attack or thwart event. That seems pretty good, because that's the kind of stuff that Miss Marvel wants. For Thor, I want to go grab Moon Knight. He's really, really cheap. He gets me a minion into play. He gets me engaged with them, but then he stuns and confuses them. And so I get to draw my cards. I get to have a cheap minion in play that's got cool stats. And I've got a minion that I chose. This is unlike Defender of the Nine Realms. In this case, I get to choose from the encounter card, from the encounter deck or the discard pile, have the best possible option. Thor can take on the minion that's going to be the most problematic for the table or whatever. Seems like a very flexible card, and one that I definitely want to put into Thor. And then last one for Deadpool. This is again thematic with Wolverine, but additionally Deadpool changes Alter Ego enough that Wolverine's going to be able to get a bunch of free heals all the time, and I think that's going to be really strong, and I think that's going to make for a really fun interaction. But yeah, that is my review of Cameo. There's so much you can do with it. It's got infinite possibilities. Those are 5 that I'd like to do, and specifically what heroes I'd put them in. What heroes would you want to use Cameo for? 3 copies of Concerted Effort. So this is a 0 cost upgrade. Tactic attached to an encounter card in play. Max 1 per encounter card. While paying costs on attached card, any player may pay those costs. There are going to be people out there that definitely know what to do with this card. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I do with this card. And that might just be a lack of experience. I mean, obviously there's plenty of things that you throw this onto, any attachment that has a hero action or whatever on it to do something, but there's got to be possibilities I'm not thinking of, and we will see where this goes. But yeah, put in the comments what you would do with this card. I'm not entirely sure. We're getting close. We got a reprint. Okay, or pseudo reprint. Okay, so we have the 1-cost event, Disarming Defense. It has the defense trait, Hero Interrupt Defense. When your hero defends against an attack and it gets +2 defense for this attack. If you take no damage, discard an attachment on the attacking enemy with the text hero action or hero response. So yeah, this seems good. This just seems like a way to, you get rid of the universal weapon this way. This I can see seeing play. Can't tell you exactly what scenarios, like the top 5 scenarios I'd put this into, but this is definitely going to be a toolbox card that's going to have its place. It's not going to be for everything, but I also think just the fact of the event that gives you +2 defense is going to be important, but this is going to have it's going to be fully unlocked in any number of scenarios, but it's kind of a sideboard card in that respect. Last card is Avengers Compound. We saw this in the Hercules pack. 0-cost support, Avengers location. Play only if your identity has the Avenger trait, max 1 per deck. Action, exhaust Avengers Compound. Choose to either tuck an ally from your hand here if no ally is tucked here, or play an ally tucked here as if it were in your hand. I think this will be situational. I've now played with the Hercules deck. I think that this is a card that has its place. I think it's going to be more in one where you are in a deck that's trying to go wide, and if you're in leadership and just don't or I guess if you're in like a trait-based one and nowhere for Guardians or what is it? Utopia for X-Men that give you an additional slot. Like if you just haven't found that card yet, this is a good way to keep. That doesn't work because you need the Avenger trait. I guess if you have the Avenger trait. If you're in a deck that basically wants to go wide, but you haven't found your Triskelion yet and you're in leadership, this is going to be a card that's like, I'm going to keep this guy in reserve. If I get out the Triskelion, I'll use it. If I don't, when one of these allies dies, I'll get to play this out. I also think this is an additional card in your hand, but I do see this as a card that is not as universal as I was thinking it was going to be. But that's it. I am excited. Where did I put Simon? Where are you, Simon? That would have made for a really bad day. Okay. I like Wonder Man. I was excited. I wanted him in the game. I'm excited he's in the game. I feel like he was kind of a curveball. I don't think a lot of people would have expected him. I wanted him in the game, and I didn't fully expect him to be in the game. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this, and I'm hoping he's going to be a fun hero. I'm very excited, and I will report back. But what card in his pack are you most excited about? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you all in the next one. Remember, you're doing great. Keep it up.